And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to the RINO podcast. The RINO podcast. Patreon.com/RINOpod. Only $1 a month. We just did a great episode on what is white trash and how to not be that way. It's actually a serious episode. Go check it out. Only $1 a month. Patreon.com/RINOpod. Some housekeeping, Caitlin.
Okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
This, because of the title of the episode, this podcast exists because of the freak right. This podcast exists because of the freak right. We are the most popular conservative podcast in Massachusetts. We got a good audience of people who on our side and those who would be our opponents, I guess, on the left, because we're normal. In fact, we popularized the term a couple of years ago of being the normals. We are the normals. This podcast exists because of the freak right, because we called it the RINO podcast because we're making fun of the freak right, because the freak right goes around and all they fucking do is call everybody else who isn't a freak a RINO. And we're making fun of them. And if you're listening to this going, he's a fucking RINO, you're the freak. You're the freak. I hate to break it to you, you're the one. And if you want a list of the freaks, we'll get into this. Well, I'll get into it in a little bit on the episode because this is important. I'm running for Republican State Committee in Massachusetts. You should donate to my campaign. Pin tweet has all the QR codes. Go do it. There's a list of candidates, a slate by a freak newspaper that they've all found each other. They all post shit about globalists, and they all listen to the Steve Bannon show. They're wacky people. They think Tim Pool and Jack Posobiec know something. They're freaks.
Steve Bannon this morning, I think, was speaking at CPAC and said that Donald Trump won the 2020 election, and that is not the case.
There you go. And if you're
and the fact that Steve Bannon has the floor at CPAC is also a problem. Yeah. Maybe that's why no one's going to CPAC right now. If you look at pictures of the audiences.
It's been 9 years since I went.
I've never gone. Again, we're talking about the normals. I have no problem going. That's the thing. I would have no problem going if the speakers were really good and they spoke to what I believe in, or at least a majority of what I believe in. And it would have been a good convention for me to spend money on this, to go. Yeah. I didn't go in college. I had almost a full-time job working while I was in college. And so I didn't go when I was in college Republicans. And I really have no inclination to go.
There's no reason to go now. Let me say this right now. There's not a lot of reason to go. It is a shell of its former self. The freak right has taken over. And that's evidenced by, who's there, Posobiec being there, and them, Bannon being there, and all the nonsense. But that's where the grift is, and there's a lot of people willing to support the grift because they don't know any better. One, because they're freaks, and this is why I'm here. This is why I'm running for state committee. This is why we do this podcast, is because we're absolutely certain that most of Republicans, most center-right people agree with us on most things. But the people that just talk endless shit and believe conspiracy theories and subscribe to all the nonsense that they blather on about, and their first inclination is to attack people on, quote, our side, right? Instead of going after Democrats, is what makes them freaks. And they don't do anything. This is the thing. This is the ultimate culmination.
They punch right more than they punch left. Let's be perfectly honest. And they pretend that they don't. They punch right more than they punch left, and they pretend that they're the ultimate fighters for the right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no.
That's exactly it. And this podcast exists because we punch back, because we separate ourselves from those freaks, because what we say makes sense, and we are the barometer of normality in probably Massachusetts. Even as left it is, we're still pretty freaking normal. And definitely in the Republican Party and across America.
And the thing is that, like we're Republicans, we vote Republican in Massachusetts up and down. What are you expecting here? I'm still going to vote Republican. I'm sorry, but I'm going to stand in the room. When you're doubling down on Donald Trump or whatever, you're going to double down. I mean, even Donald Trump has not really doubled down on the conspiracy theories at this point as much as he used to. It's really like
Donald Trump himself, the man, is actually more normal than the freak right.
I will say this. He has deep dived into it.
As a person.
As a person, I think that he's more of an entertainer, comedian. And he has engaged in a lot of conspiracy theories. I will not say that he hasn't, but you can see that he's trying to shrug these people because is he really promoting Carrie Lake anymore? No.
They're only conspiracy theories that just
but they are
his ego.
And they are still in his orbit, and I think that that's really a problem for him. But I think that maybe his ego, because they stroke it, can't handle them really leaving the orbit.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for him.
So
go.
Yeah, so to continue along this, and it's just the freak right is really defined by, the biggest thing they're defined by is they lose. Okay, and we experienced this here in Massachusetts with the last chairman, Jim Lyons, who lost countless races, didn't win a single fucking election, almost bankrupted the party, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Tons of controversy.
FEC violations, which I'm using in my campaigns ad because my opponent was dumb enough to sign off on the reports that caused the FEC violations, which cost the party money. Absolute fact. Believe me, the funny thing is, I'm kind of lucky that I'm running against somebody who I generally don't have like a personal animus towards. Although he's done nothing but talk shit about me online, copy and paste attacks. Okay. It's fine. We're adults. But he's part of that crew that they just lose, and they think, here's the weird part. They lose
and they think they're winning.
And here's a classic example. Sorry, I just got to get this out because this is classic. One of the attacks that they've copy and pasted literally for me and a bunch of the other normal people who are running for state committee is that in 2022, there was a ballot initiative to take away driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. You and I, on this show, pushed voting in favor of taking away driver's licenses for illegal aliens in November.
And by the way,
we both voted for it.
We're RINOs, but we vote for every ballot initiative for the GOP, but FYI,
Yeah.
the ones that we support. Just want to throw it out there, like, we're the RINOs, but we vote GOP.
Right.
Okay?
Right. So we voted for, we supported. Absolutely. It's a good idea. It was a bad idea when the legislature passed it. That's why I think Baker vetoed it, but the Dems overrode him. Maura Healey supported it. Whatever. Okay. Massachusetts got what they wanted. We had no money to fight for that ballot initiative. But the freaks, they collected signatures for it. They all got out there, and this is the big push. They all collected signatures for it, and apparently, and I'm not so sure about this, because I think I would have signed it if it was put before me, are attacking people for not signing a ballot petition. Not voting for the ballot question, but not signing a ballot petition.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I remember.
How ballot petitions, you have to get in front of a lot of voters. So if you failed, you morons, you freaks, if you failed to get a ballot petition in front of the most active Republicans in the state.
Who are registered Republicans? We're registered
Republicans.
There's only a certain percentage of us in the state. What are you doing?
That's your fault. And you're bragging about something that failed. You're using one of your failures as an attack. Again, like we were talking about, this is the number one hallmark. They lose and they think they're winning. We had no money for that to push that ballot question because at the time Jim Lyons put it all towards the Jeff Deal campaign, which lost by more than 29 points. Again, because he's a freak and incompetent and not knowing what they're doing.
And he
this
used
is
to
all
not,
the hallmarks of
he
it.
used to not be the freak right?
Who?
Jeff Deal used to not be the freak right.
Used to not be.
And then he chose to, and the thing is when he used to make public statements, do you remember? When he used to make public statements, he used to be like pretty big, like he straight up said that the 2020 election was legitimate because he was trying to appeal
right,
towards
he flip-flopped. Yep, he flip-flopped on it.
He would speak to Republicans, his tone and rhetoric were completely different.
Mm-hmm. And then publicly, yeah. So he probably knows the difference and just said whatever he had to say at the top.
And you don't have to perform for that, guys. I'm just throwing it out there. Like, we would vote for you if you didn't do this nonsense.
Yeah, I voted for Jeff Deal.
I ended up voting for Jeff because I knew that he needed the vote.
Yeah, because when
he
lost by 29,
it was very begrudgingly, and I, was it shocking he was going to lose? No.
When he lost by more than 29, I voted for him. When he lost to Elizabeth Warren by more than 30, I voted for him.
Yeah.
It's like this, and they think they're winning. And then when they lose, they actually blame the establishment. And the establishment's keeping us down. It's like fucking no ownership of their responsibility, of their performance. I mean, this is a defining thing. Like in Massachusetts, if you're local, if you're watching this, there's a whole slate of the freaks out there. I think it's the Boston Broadside. They're all listed. You want that to take over. Great. Fine. Whatever. My life will go on. Here's the thing. It'll just go back to where it was with Jim, where we'll lose election after election. It'll be excuse after excuse and done. Or
and they get angry at you when you make the point that they're making an excuse.
Yeah. And here's the thing. What's even more petty and stupid is when, this podcast, me anyway, it's like, they start name calling right out of the gate. I was going to run a clean campaign. Then I hit him with an ad because he's an incompetent fool. I mentioned it earlier about the FEC reports. But, it's like, then you hit them back and then they start talking about how, we just want to be Democrats and we don't want to, all this intra-party fighting. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's all you do. It's the first thing out of your mouths. It's the the only thing. Go to these Facebook pages of these freaks.
My big thing on this is that we can't allow the Mass GOP state committee be a club where you just go and you look for an echo chamber. The point of the state committee is to promote the chairman and help fill out ballots, all this other stuff. Like, you have a job on that state committee. Your state committee is to elect Republicans.
That's it.
If you are on the state committee and you are engaging in infighting, like hardcore infighting, and the infighting starts when someone points out that there has been mistakes made and the elected people, aka this person, doesn't do their job. Okay? Elected officials who do not do their job, and state committee people are elected officials of the state Republican Party, they need to go.
That's it.
They need to go. It's not your club. It's not a old boys club, like anything like that. Like, if you are not promoting Republicans to win in the state of Massachusetts, where we've had problems getting Republicans elected, then you need to go. Yeah. You need to either lose election or you need to resign.
And I get these people talking about how, what about loyalty to their friends? That's one of the chairs of the local
because
go hold hands on the beach. Go hold hands on the beach. Get a dog if you want friendship. Harry Truman said that. You want friends in Washington D.C., get a dog. Okay?
Yeah.
This is a job. These are positions. This is why when I make my campaign videos, I say We need a serious and strong Republican Party. Because if you're talking about loyalty to friends, you're an unserious person. Just go away. Just go away. Like,
at this
you don't
point,
have to. By the way, I enjoy doing
rebuild. Like, the thing is like, we're in rebuild state here with the state party. Like, we won a good election with Peter Durant. We need people on the state committee that are going to push the party forward to win elections. Okay, that is where we are at. If your singular goal is not to elect Republicans to beat the Democrats, then you need to either lose your state committee race or you need to go. Just figure it out, okay? Because you're not doing what's good for the party if you're not helping elect Republicans. Your role on this state committee is just to do that. It is very simple. And if you can't do it, then just go.
Yep. That's it. And the freaks, what the aftermath of the freaks in politics is everybody smells them from a mile away. They know who they are. They just listen to them.
And you have empty seats at CPAC.
You have empty seats at CPAC. You have empty bank accounts because normal people, business people don't want to give money to freaks. They don't want. They smell the loser from a mile away, and it's not
an establishment versus the It's not the populist argument. You want to know why? Because Donald Trump is in charge of the Republican Party in this country. He is the establishment now. That is who he is. He wants to put Lara Trump on the RNC to be the co-chair, which is crazy, bizarro world to me. She should not be there. And that you're the establishment. If you are the hardcore Trumper, you are the establishment at this point. Yeah. It's not like Paul Ryan's the establishment. Paul Ryan is not the establishment anymore. I hate saying it like this. He is on the outside. Yeah. Nikki Haley is not the establishment anymore, regardless of what many people think. She is not that. Well, I mean, she kind of is. I mean, she gets money from wealthy people and all the other stuff. But Donald Trump's the GOP establishment. He's it, and everybody around him is the GOP establishment. I'm sorry.
So you can't blame them when they lose. It's like take some ownership of your actions and realize that. And this is where we're at.
I'm sorry. That's the reason why I don't really hear the excuses when like Donald Trump gets 40 in South Carolina and Nikki Haley gets close to 40. Like
that. By the way, I mean 6 out of 10 Republican voters in South Carolina and 5 out of 50% in Iowa. I guess it was 6 out of 10 in New Hampshire, but 5 or 6 out of 10 Republican voters are supporting the incumbent last president. That's it.
And Iowa has to be registered Republicans. Okay, so in New Hampshire, you can be a registered independent and pull a Republican ballot. The same thing is true in South Carolina.
That's a problem where we're at. But
I'm not quite sure on like the partisan breakdown really in South Carolina yet, but New Hampshire is a little bit more weird. So I'm not saying that as a positive or negative. I'm just saying that people can be independents in New Hampshire and vote conservative and Republican the entire time. They just are not a Republican.
Right. But all right, so back to the freak right.
But a lot of people didn't vote for Donald Trump this primary. Correct, and they're, and it is matching the polling on this. I will say this, Jeff, that people are kind of tired of the Trump thing. This is actually a definite blow to the Make America Great Again, 3.0 campaign style that Donald Trump is running again.
When 4 out of 10 Republican voters won't vote for you.
I will say this, if Donald Trump had not done January 6th, he'd be sailing through this primary, and Ron DeSantis wouldn't have run. Nikki Haley wouldn't have run.
You said that. Yep, it's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. It wouldn't even be close. Nobody would.
It would be like bothered. The old George W. Bush shirts being like, "Miss me yet?" Like, do you remember that? Like. If January 6th hadn't happened, Donald Trump would be sailing through this primary. He'd probably win re-election really easily. And right now the polling is showing that Donald Trump's going to win this election. I am concerned about fundraising numbers and how that's going to play, but that's a different topic of conversation for another time.
There's a litmus test. If you're not sure of what somebody thinks, or if they're a member of the freak right, ask them about January 6th.
That's also true, because
that's a litmus test. It's a little litmus test. Just ask them. See what their response is.
I don't want to hear about January 6th prisoners. I don't want to hear about January 6th and how it was the right thing to do or whatever, because I don't think riots are great.
No.
I don't think that we need to prove our point through a riot. I don't think that going after Mike Pence was really a particularly smart decision. I think
you're saying such normal things, Caitlin.
Right. I don't. Things. I think that, again, if Donald Trump had said after the 2020 election, okay, peace out, we're going to have a rematch in 2024, he'd be sailing to re-election, because Biden has
1,000%.
Biden has failed. Okay, like, he is a failed president. Right now, his polling dive is because Democrats are really hitting him hard in this polling. I mean, Democrats kind of underestimate, like, people watching, like, Afghanistan and having an opinion on him. People really underestimate they support, I guess, American funding in Ukraine, but Ukraine happened under Biden's watch. The economy took a long time and people felt it as inflation is cooled, but it's not cooled in a way that's like really good and consistent. You're really feeling it on goods like food and gas. And those are things that, through his energy policy is really hurting. It's just, again, like, you see Steve Bannon get involved. It's like, that's not appealing to me. Like,
where this breaks down. So, in the title of the episode, #FreakRight, Edmund Smirk, who's gained popularity. Some people have mentioned this with,
Michael
Knowles, right? Talking about Swiftian Normality with the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing. And and he's brought up a lot of good points, because I'm, girl dad, right? I have a daughter. And it makes sense. It's like when you have kids, especially as like when they're beyond the baby stage and they're starting to like absorb culture and look at screens and see what's out there, you see a whole variety of choices, right, that are in front of them. There's like the Disney Channel stuff. There's the Nickelodeon stuff. There's YouTube and all the social media platforms, which I don't allow any of that on her phone for social. There's no social media accounts. She's not going to be allowed to have one at all, like ever, until she's an adult.
You're a good dad, because that's not the case for a lot of kids.
No, there's no TikTok. There's no Instagram. She does find her way to YouTube for some stuff, which now it's like you'd understand this. I don't know if you'd appreciate it, but this past Christmas, the Ulta Beauty and Sephora.
Oh God, I remember that.
The push for these young girls to buy these products, it was insane, Caitlin. Insane. It was.
I'm sorry, but like 14-year-olds, I do appreciate that. I like hearing all that stuff. No, what I'm saying is that it is pretty predatory to expect a 10-year-old to start using retinol. Right. You should not be using. I didn't start using retinol until I was 25, Jeff. Yeah. Like 25 years old. And even now, I don't really use retinol that much because my skin is super sensitive. But yeah, like, I think that is predatory, and I think that it's driven by social media.
So the cultural influences that are out there are very nefarious, right?
True.
Save one. Tay-Tay.
Which girl? Tay-Tay.
Tay-Tay.
She is pretty normal.
When you look at it, it's like, okay, she went for these, beta actors and singers and musicians.
I would even say on some level Beyonce as well. I would say that, because she's married, she has kids now. Like,
yeah.
Like we can talk about maybe some bad things that Jay-Z has done, but Beyonce was pretty. She was never like. I I guess I say that because Beyonce was like more my generation with like Destiny's Child. I feel like she held herself to a higher standard. And I think that Taylor Swift does that as well. I mean, the thing with Taylor Swift is that like she, writes her own music. Everything is super relatable within her music.
Right.
And
But she's not talking about
nasty things.
nasty shit that you like when you're in
It's
the car listening to the top 40 radio station and Ariana Grande comes on or Nicki Minaj comes on or who's the other one? The new one, Tate McRae. Like, there's these teeny bopper pop stars. They've always been here, and I'm not complaining about that. I'm not. But when you get to be a dad and you have a daughter, it's like, if you want to be a present dad, you don't want your daughter to turn out to be a skank. Like, you generally don't, right? So that's kind of what you do when you guide her.
Back when I was younger, it was called the prostitutes. Because during when I was like I was in 7th grade when 9/11 happened, if you want to age me that way. And so back then it was like Paris Hilton,
right?
Nicole Richie.
Yep.
Nicole Richie's actually become normal. Lindsay Lohan. Who else? Kim Kardashian was like really popular. Who else? What was really popular when I was in college? Jersey Shore and Snooki and JWoww, GTL, and partying all night long and getting herpes. Like, it's like like this stuff I can't relate to, right? Because I don't agree with that lifestyle. And so Taylor Swift, though, I remember Taylor Swift's first album when it came out. I want to say it came out when I was in college. Let me look that up real quick. But I remember listening to it when it came out on CD. And I was like, wow, this is so fresh. She like really means what she's singing.
Just singing about being brokenhearted. Yeah.
And it's like such a relatable album where she's like, I'm kind of an outsider, but like, I love like these, like I'm relatable. I like boys and all this other thing. And then I guess when was it 1989 came out, that was kind of when I moved up here. And so it was relatable. It's like going to New York and being with your friends and like, and I'm not saying that I'm a huge Swiftie. I'm really not. I don't like going to concerts. I like the movies better. But
yeah,
she kind of has, there is a normality to her, right? Like even with the escapades when she was making maybe like social mistakes earlier, she learned from them, right? She after that point with like 1989, she had a boyfriend that she had for 6 years. And like, that is.
Well, that's actually a good point. Cause it's like the boyfriend of 6 years, she fell into like, talk about being normal, right? Which a lot of women, and this is where men need to be better and true masculinity needs to come into play, is when you're dating a woman, like, if you're going to want to make her wife.
Her first album came out when I was a junior in high school. That's about right.
When you're dating a woman, if you want to make her your wife. So when you hold on for 6 years of dating, and you're in your mid to late 20s,
especially as an adult, I think my parents got married like after dating for like almost like 10 months when they were in their 30s. So,
but even I knew, like, as when I was in my 20s or when I was single, I was like, I know I'm not going to date a woman for like that amount of time. I was like, if I'm going to date her, like a marriage will have taken place in like year 3 to 4, right? So
that's a normal amount.
Say again?
That's a normal amount of time. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, like, if you're dating somebody for a couple of years, it's like if you sit back after like 2 years of going out with somebody and you're like, all right, they're it. Let's lock it down. If you can't make that decision after 2 years, like, you should split up and move on and like find somebody else because you're wasting both person's time.
No, I
don't drag it out for 6 fucking years.
Like I got married really young, you all know, and Chris and I got married after 4 years of dating, but I was really young. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, that's cool, but you knew.
Yeah,
It's
we knew.
but that's like more normal. And Taylor Swift is more normal. Yeah, she's a billionaire pop star, so she doesn't live like a normal life, but she's cognizant enough that even though she's,
You know
partying
who
with
else
other
I would
celebrities,
say?
that she needs
Right.
to she needs to at least present a normal picture, and she knows what that normal picture is to the rest of the world.
I think another actress in Hollywood that I would say helps present that is probably like Reese Witherspoon,
Yeah.
where she was married both times, like pretty long. And she seemingly has, like, she has Draper, oh God, what's her clothing brand? Draper James. And that's pretty preppy and Southern. I think that there's a normality in that, right? Like, and the thing is like these two women are liberal. Like, they are politically liberal, but they are attracted to, I guess,
they live their lives as small C conservatives.
small c conservatives. And so they're helping promote that small c conservative lifestyle. And I think that that's a positive. I think it was like kind of mind blowing for like people when she started dating Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, when she would like, after he played football or like a concert, she would run up and like grab him by the neck and kiss him. Like, it, people are not used to that anymore, right? Like, that's a normal small c conservative reaction to being in love. Like, he holds her hand, and
He's the big football star, and
and
she's the
he
homecoming queen.
and yeah, like she like that is a normal relationship. Like that's the positive masculinity, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And I think on the right, we need to start promoting this positive masculinity again. I think that we sometimes get in the point of opposing feminism so much that we don't promote positive masculinity. So I do have to say, Jeff, I will point this out. I do watch the podcast, whatever, okay, every now and then. And I watched it when Charlie Kirk was on, and I watch it when Michael Knowles is on. And I enjoy when Michael Knowles is on whatever more so than I do any other conservative dude, except for the one that goes after that Kiko girl. He's funny. But like, Charlie Kirk is awkward and weird, and he comes off like an asshole. Like, you're not a positive person to be promoting our movement anymore. Right. But then you go and you hear Michael Knowles present a positive masculine role model on this show to a bunch of girls, and half of them are on OnlyFans. And he does it in a positive, respectful way. He never gets an argument. He never puts them down. And he just promotes that goodness. And I think that he does it in a good way. So you get that Swiftian normality.
Yeah.
You get that girl dad right.
And that's the distinction between the freaks and the normals right there. Charlie Kirk right on the side of the freaks, Michael Knowles on the side of the normals. And the difference being, and this is what the freaks don't get, because they think, well, I'm the real conservative. It's like, no, the policy positions are identical. Shut the fuck up. That's not what we're talking about. You don't get it because you're a freak. The difference is how you relate to people and talk about it. Okay?
Exactly.
Because if you go online and you're Jesse Waters and you entertain conspiracy theories, how there's a deep state conspiracy theory about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce to promote Big Pharma. Yeah, I know he did the ads for Moderna or whatever the hell it was. Grow up. No, I mean, I don't even say grow up. Just go away. You're not getting it. You believe in kooky stuff. Okay? Mm-hmm. Michael Knowles tends towards normality. The Charlie Kirks of the world are the freaks. Now go believe the freakish stuff. I don't care, but we're all done with it. And the difference now between, say, 8 years, 6 to 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like that, is like everybody wanted, like the normals were like, all right, we'll try to get along. We'll try to work it out. okay, guys, you really shouldn't say that. We just want to be Democrats. And they'll be like, shut up, Rhino. Fuck you. You know, it's like, okay. It's like, we're done with that. We're done with that, guys. We're just
I guess I
giving,
wasn't
we're
ever like
giving the
that. I
freaks.
wasn't like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, no, I'm here and I'm voting Republican. You're going to have to get along with me.
Here's the difference now. We're giving a big middle finger to all the freaks. We don't care what you think. We're over it. We can't work with you. You're impossible. You don't care about winning. The left is taking over, and you're more concerned about attacking and punching right. We're done.
Yeah, like the thing is like the normals just want to win. Like I don't know why like Trump fatigue is like surprising people, even though he's still winning the primary. Like I don't know why people are so confused as to why CPAC arena halls are just like not even arena. Like,
well, that's less confusing. I think we know
Trump arena rallies are still full, but like why CPAC halls where speakers are going is not full. Like why is that surprising to people? The people who have money who want to spend on that and go to it, they're not going to go to CPAC anymore. They're not going to listen to Charlie Kirk yell at them about why we should get rid of MLK Day, because that's never going to be taken away. It's just not. Like
that's because the normals are successful because they're normal, and they have money because they're successful because they're normal, and the freaks don't, and that's why it's empty. This was good. This was cathartic and healthy.
I think it needed to be said. I think that Edmund Smirk. I'm sorry. I think he really nailed it on the head with the quote unquote freak right. I like his terminology. Again, we called it the normals, and a certain writer from the Dispatch wrote an entire article on it and stole our term.
Yeah. Well after we were popularized it.
Yeah, and then we don't blame you. We don't blame you. We agree. We agree on that. I think that he's right on like the girl dad right being like really cute and like awesome, but we really do need to bring that into the forefront. Like the serious people need to start running state political parties, especially in swing states. We need to be better about money. We're just not. The National Party is just not good about money right now. Again, after Michael Steele's debacle before Trump came in, and we need to allow the serious people to run. Like, because the point is to win, so you can make the point. And we can't allow people like Steve Bannon to be like the serious base of the GOP. We just can't, like we got to have the quote unquote rhinos who are not really rhinos, need to really be loud and stand their ground and say, I'm still here.
Yep. All right, everybody. That's all for this episode of the Rhino Podcast. Head on over to patreon.com/rhinopod for extra content. We really appreciate your support. My pinned tweet on the Twitter page has, I think, my endorsement from Howie Carr, the great and powerful and wonderful radio legend.
Yeah, Howie Carr.
I do have some other. Click on the media tab of the Twitter page, of my Twitter page, for some of my videos. On the state committee ones, you can clearly see them, and there'll be some QR codes if you want to help support and get some of my ads to a wider audience. By the way, a lot of people out there who did support and supported generously. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. All right. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.